You clicking, Justin?
Can you hear me clicking? I got a new mouse. Look at that. Looks exactly the same as the old one. Like,
The
but
only thing is this
it's
one actually works. It doesn't
well,
annoy
this one works. It won't
me.
click us in and click us out. But just to prove there are two mice. Where's the other one?
I don't like mice, Justin. I'm feared of mice.
So there's the old one. Where is it? There's the old one, and
Wow.
there's the new one. So they're both seen in the same room at the same time. There you go.
Brilliant. Just keep the eye on the rugby there. Ireland 52-16. Half of most of our people not be watching tonight because we're too busy watching the rugby.
Well, I know. I could have been out round the corner at my mates to watch the rugby, but he's very generous with the alcoholic beverages, so I wouldn't be in any fit state to come here tonight. So there is a few watching tonight. That's why we're appealing to our American audiences tonight, aren't we?
Oh yes, we're going across the water to the grand old US of A.
Because they don't know what rugby is, do they? It's
No.
a place. It's a place in where the time signal comes from. Boop, boop, boop.
No,
That's about it.
they think it's like American football but played in reverse. You get penalised for throwing the ball forward. You know?
Yeah.
But
Something like that.
some of them know about the All Blacks. Hey, okay, know that there.
Actually, I read a thing about an All Black guy, or Mari, that got thrown out of a pub because he'd Mari face things on. You know, he had tattoos on his face. And, you know, they said no tattoos, but they didn't realize it's like no daggers, but he's like, he has to wear them, you know.
Surely they can't do that against Maori.
Well,
people.
they can't, but they don't know because they're stupid, you know.
There's plenty like this. There's no shortage of stupidity. Honestly, they'll never be collecting for the moron going and seeing. You know.
No.
But anyway,
no.
I was working this weekend. I had a group, and some of the people were just so rude. I honestly can't believe just how rude they were. You know. But anyway, such is life. Rough with the smooth.
Okay. Let me see. Everybody's saying hello. There's a hell of a lot of people in tonight for rugby being watched. What's going on tonight?
Well, I suppose
it's going ballistic because you know Ireland's going to win. It's absolutely ballistic. I can't keep up with it. What do we see? What everybody's saying? We better say hello to everyone. So Thomas Jones is saying hello. Good evening to you. Remember, if you're watching, comment, like, and share. Sean McLennan, thank you very much. William's been in touch. Thank you very much. I'm glad you got a little flask with my laser etched image on it. Yes, my laser.
Big thanks to Mark Kerr for that.
There's the Treadnicks are in. Yes, evening to you. I like that new mural you've got up. That new mural looks fantastic. Yes.
Oh yes, looks the part. All seems to be coming along down at the list below.
What do we call them? Murals, don't we?
Murals. A couple of murals.
Anthony Sillett saying hello. Evening, one and all. Andy Tolan saying hello. Geordie Burke saying hello. Julie, yes. How are you? Good evening. And sorry I didn't get to catch you, but I can sort of still hear this coldy flu in my voice. Can you hear it a little bit?
Mine's just still lingering about. I mean, I've had cold so many times this winter. Just ridiculous.
And then Thomas Jones is saying, good evening. Should be a good match against South Africa. Yeah. Is that next weekend? Are we going to be trumped next weekend with the South African match? Probably are. Yeah.
I can't remember what time it is. I can't remember what time it's on.
Christopher Watts saying, good evening. Remember, if you're watching, remember to comment, like, and share, tag your friends. Linda Cox is saying hello. Let me know if you can hear my mouse, because my mouse is right beside the microphone tonight. And I want to hear if you can click it. It's supposed to be a silent mouse. I was overdue to get one. I like to make mice last because they're very dear, but I didn't buy a dear one. I was going to buy the Apple one, but they're out 100 quid. But there's a story on that, but we won't go there. And then I bought a good mouse. Cian Boland saying hello. William McLennan, where he's in Portadown tonight? All right, he's in Portadown, yes. Michael Scully saying hello. Andrew McAllister saying a lot of people in tonight already.
Good. The more the merrier.
Are you allowed to say blacks these days at the New Zealand rugby team? Yes,
you're allowed to say All Blacks.
And then, good evening, men. Another good night for Irish rugby team. It is. Whiskey Novice. You boys are about 2 minutes early. See you once the whistle blows. Oh, is that what you were waiting on? We thought we were a minute late, but we're probably just on time. Yeah, lovely gesture. Yes, thank you. It was lovely gesture too from you as well. Let me see. I have to fly to Canada to meet up with you. And then Darren Fleck is saying, good evening, watching the phone while rugby is on the telly.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, so I'm getting statistics now about how many people watching the telly, and it's increasing the number of people watching the telly, by the way. I meant to tell you that.
People watching on the TV.
Yeah, and Trevor Watson saying hello, and Nancy Sillett, he's just getting over COVID for the third time.
I've never had it, Anthony. I am immune.
All right. Patrick Multy said, listen, we're 5 minutes in tonight.
For 5 minutes, I haven't done anything other than
haven't done anything.
Now, just a quick message on a somber note. For everybody, I think most people know Stanley, who watches the show and who we do tastings at. Unfortunately, he lost his father this week, so his father Louis was buried today. Here's to all the Sung family. They're top people they are. So yeah, thoughts and wishes with them, you know.
Okay, condolences.
Lovely people. So, quick message, by the way. I was on the friend at hand today. Probably the favourite of the lineup that they have, the 13-year-old Bushmills friend at hand. Bottlings. There's only about 10 of these left. So if anyone's wanting to get down and get one of these before they go, you better make tracks this week because they will be all gone.
What price is that hitting at, Marty?
That's the 70 pounds.
All right.
So
pretty good for the money.
Oh, 46% Bushmills bottled in bourbon and then 6 months in French Bordeaux, fighting Irish bottling. I really like it. So it's in my glass here at the minute. So there's only about 10 bottles left. So best get your wee skates on if you want to get one of those picked up. Do it early in the week. What else do we have to say? Don't know. Can't remember. Well, we do a bit of noise or news.
We better do a bit of news. We won't play the theme tune because if I was fed up getting Zuckerberg every time we played it, even though it's a free Apple one. But there you go. That's the way it goes.
That's Zuckerberg for you, you know. Anyway, right. Well, this week I suppose the big news in Irish whiskey was the release of the latest Iberian release from Redbreast. So this time it's a tawny port cask finish.
Wow.
Now it's limited edition, it says. So that'll mean it's limited to about 50,000 bottles or something ridiculous. It's quite interesting. It's initially mature. It's interesting the way they put this, right? Because they make it sound as if this was targeted straight. This was their aim from day one. It's initially matured in the combination of bourbon and Oloroso. So basically, it's the stuff that they use for Old Redbreast to start off with. Then a portion of those was recast into tawny port for a few years. That's the quote that they say. Then all of those whiskies were then blended to complete a maturation in freshly seasoned tawny port hogsheads. Now, the thing is, a hogshead, normally port is in port pipes, and a hogshead would be about half the size. So if it's freshly seasoned and it's half the size, that's them basically telling you that they were trying to inject the port influence on it real fast, okay? So I'm going to say it probably wasn't in those last tawny port casks for all that terribly long. I may be wrong, but I'm going to say that I'm probably not. It's 46%. It's about £80 a bottle. The tasting notes from Billy Layton: chocolate-coated hazelnuts, quickly followed by fresh plums and figs, and with a pot still spice. Now, there's people will be losing their shit trying to get their hands on this. It'll not be hard to come by. There'll be dozens of them at auctions because people think they're going to get it for 80 quid and sell it for 300 or something daft. If you're going all out mad to get your hands on bottles of it, hopefully it's just a drink, because these are not going to make any big money. If anybody's going to pay big money for these, then it's not going to be that collectible. This will be a big release, okay? So yeah, that's the big news really in Irish whiskey this week.
Yes, now there are good bargains to be had. Talking about bargains, duty free's back on between Ireland and England, and they were doing 4 different spirits for €45, which works out about 39 quid. So, and there were liter bottles, and that's on the Dublin Holyhead route. So that's keep an eye out for that if you're about. But Linda Cox picked up a Bushmills 10-year single malt sherry cask at Dublin Airport for €54. That's not bad.
The 10-year-old sherry cask.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a 10-year-old sherry cask? Is there?
Must be.
The 10-year-old is normally bourbon. True, that was was it? Is it not? I don't know. I'll have to have a wee nosy at that if we're going across from Dublin at any point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the big the Tawny Port. That's the Iberian collection. There's been a couple of other ones. The PX Sherry one, the Blustow is the Iberian collection. So I'm not sure if there's any more coming out or not. I probably have heard this, but it'll be interesting to see. They are very well received, and they've all been very good whiskies. But yeah, that'll be highly sought after. Connor's right. It's hard to keep track of the airport releases unless you're probably working in the loop or something. That's kind of hard to keep track because they announce them and sort of weirdly tell you these exciting releases that you can only buy at certain airports and shit. So it's maybe there is a 10-year-old sherry cask one. I wasn't 100% sure. Limited release. That sounds pretty nice. But yeah, Orange Label. Yes. I know the one you mean.
Yeah,
I know it is. No, it's not one of the steamship range. I know the one it is. It's not orange. It's orange, isn't it? It's like bright orange. It's like this.
It's like the honey one that you can't get anymore. But I think it's like orange. Fanta orange in America is a totally different color than Fanta orange here. Did you see that? Yeah.
But no, this is like it's where the High Vis Vest. It's as if it's some sort of important official type looking whiskey. Yeah, it's a sort of strange break from the norm for Bushmills, but sure, why break the habit of a lifetime? Why not just confuse the life out of the customers, make it look like Glenmorangie or something? But yeah. Now, next up is there's a new auction, the Distillers 1 of 1 auction at Sotheby's, and this is to raise charity for the Youth Action Fund, the name of it. And this is where distilleries, there's 38 different permutations that have been put up for auction. Now, if you go by the estimates, I think some of the estimates are a bit off. If you go down to, say, the Brora Irish 50-year-old 1952 1.5.
There it is. There, yeah. Can you see it? Yeah.
At 400,000 upper estimate. That's probably not that far off. I wouldn't have thought that would be a highly sought after one. But if you stroke down to the one that I think would be just an awesome thing. Let me see, where is it? Listing number 27, Glen Scotia, 49-year-old Glen Scotia. One-off bottle. And it's down there that the upper estimate is 15k. I'd have to say, if you could pick that up for 15k, I would remortgage my house to buy that one. That would be just absolutely fabulous thing to own. Wouldn't be one to open. It would be one that in a few years' time would be worth. I just think it would absolutely blow the socks off. Lots of stuff. I was talking to Jim today, the whiskey novice, and I have to say, me and him both talking. He gave me a sample of a Glen Scotia single cask that was done for Loch Fyne whiskies. I poured it last night. I was sitting typing up a couple of bits and pieces, and I poured it last night, and poured it out in a glass, and I could just smell it coming out of the glass. It just came over to me, and it was like, "Oh my god, come here, you!" And we got stuck in it. It's fabulous.
Wow,
it was just fabulous stuff. So another one that's a fabulous thing. Upper estimate 10 grand. It's the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, the only drop. Now wait here. Why would anybody not want to own this? 25th of September 1989, the spirit from Speyside Distillery began maturing in another roast of sherry, but 30 years later, Its contents were divided equally between a first fill Oloroso hogshead and a first fill Pedro Jimenez hogshead. 3 years later, they've been reunited to create only one unique bottle. Bottled at 50.8% ABV, this one-of-a-kind handcrafted relief serves as a visual narrative of a 33-year-old partnership. Imagine that, these two things, cask, separated, brought together for one bottle. I mean, that just amazing. If that goes for £10,000, I'll be very, very surprised if it goes for as little as that. But hopefully they raise a lot of money for charity. Nice that these distillers do these things, and these one-off collectible bottles. I know they're expensive, but they're very nice.
It's a bloody computer. Of course, there's going to be a mouse clicking at some point, right?
Aye.
As long as it isn't a heckler and cock, you hear cocking, you're all right. That's all right.
Aye. All right. So yeah, if you have deep pockets like Kit Charles or even you, Justin, and you're feeling flush, if you want to nip over and buy me that 49-year-old Glen Scotia, I would be eternally grateful.
I'd like the mansion in the Sotheby's picture there. Where's that? Blenheim or somewhere like that?
No, it's somewhere in Scotland. I think it's just outside Edinburgh.
Wait.
Aye.
Stunning.
But no, there is some nice things there, even just to have a read at. That just obviously way beyond the reach of most people.
There's the link there. Find the link. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Telegram, or Twitter, or Facebook, remember, tag your friends, hit share, and get them watching too.
Aye, so if you want to have a look at some of the stuff, it's just well worth having a look at, because as I say, they're beyond the price range of most people, but well worth having a look at. Now, last night, BBC TV, Friday night, they aired a documentary about local Belfast man who has, well, we all met him. Those guys that went out with us on the Saturday, down at Titanic Distillery. It's the rather wonderful Peter Lowry. I have to say, he's a hell of a nice guy. It's all about. Oh, hang on, the new mouse is broke. Oh, get the guarantee out, Justin. Where's the warranty?
What do you hear?
No, it's not working. We're supposed to be moving on in the photographic department, Justin.
It is. It takes a minute. It takes a minute. I can't anticipate you, because if I anticipate you say that's the wrong one or don't show it yet.
Well, you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, you're talking about this, but it takes a while to load up. Just give me a minute. It takes a minute to load up.
Heaven.
What do you think this is? Blue
Justin,
Peter and there's 15 people?
Come on. This is not what I pay the license fee for, Justin. Come on.
I know.
Now, this Peter, it's a documentary basically about Peter's life. About him winning. For everybody knows, Peter won £10.2 million on the lottery back in 1996. And in the documentary, he tells about how he started partying, which is, perfectly normal thing to do whenever you go from being a bus driver earning 200 quid a week to being one of the richest people in Belfast. When you're doing this, doing the tour of the thing, it's a bit of a labour of love. There's bits in it where he gets really upset about certain stuff and about how lucky he was in certain ways and how he's done this and how he's done that. But to actually go pump a lot of money into this distillery, and this has been an ongoing project for a long time. It's well worth watching, well worth picking out. He is a really, really nice guy, just a lovely man. Now, what's up?
Yep.
Aye. I was down at the distillery the other day because I had a bit of a group coming in. Folk off the Disney dream. Mickey Mouse was in town during the week, and went down in, and I got chatting to somebody, and he said to me, "Murray, do you want to try the new make spirit?" "Does my arse look south?" says I.
Right.
And I went over and I got a sample of the new make spirit. Now I got to taste it, and I was asked by the guy, let me know what you think. Be honest. So there's Peter. We're moving on. Remember I sent you the picture of the new Make Spirit, Justin?
Yes, that's right.
Aye. Well, we're moving on to it.
Yeah.
So the new Make Spirit, got to try it, and I have to say, it's lovely. It's really, really, really nice. It's very chocolatey, lots of toffee notes in it, and quite oily and viscous. Yeah, they should be really proud.
Except the picture's that small that I can't find it, but I do have it. The new Make Spirit is coming up. Keep you talking. Keep you talking.
Aye. Aye.
What was it like?
Oh, forget about it. Move on to the next one.
Hold on. I'm trying to look for it.
Wonder what is it you're doing that's causing your eyesight to fail, Justin? What could it possibly
I
be?
don't know, but I need either that or I need a bigger computer screen.
Aye.
I found it and then I can't find it again. Hold on. Is this it? I bet it's not going to be it. What do you see? It is it. Look at that. I found it.
Aye. There we go. Pull it up full screen. Aye. There we go. So that was the new Make Spirit. And
That's a brilliant picture, by the way, whoever took that.
I took it.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
I've been a bit sure. Of course I'm bloody sure.
It's brilliant because it's like clear and you're looking through the glass and it's reflecting through the shells. What do you tell you? Sean McCall says the shine off your forehead, it was blinding us for a minute there. I know it's because my light's in a different position tonight.
Aye, and you polished your wee head. No, so that's polishing your head's maybe what's causing your eyesight to go, Justin.
Don't take it easy now. Take it easy. Take it easy. There you go. To new Make to be sure. Yeah.
I have to say.
All right. All right. Hold on. I can't switch these off. I can't work my new mouse because I don't know whether I'm clicking it or not because I can't hear it in my head because it's silent. I know.
But like that's the new Make. Again, it's new Make. See, you're just having to see what it's going to be like going forward. But I have to say, they're still in commissioning stage. They're still trying to find exactly what it is. But getting a chance to taste some of the brand new first spirit out of the distillery was quite nice. It was a pleasant thing, and ain't much wrong with it at all. So next up. This is a bit of a strange sort of connection, I suppose. The Italian spirits company, Ilva Sorano Holdings, which owns Di Sorano, it's also the owner of the Royal Oak Distillery down in County Carlow, have added to their portfolio the Sagamore Spirits Distillery. Now, it's just south of Baltimore, and it's that's the distillery there. When I was over in the US, it was last December. Those of you who might remember, I gave a talk to the Maryland distilling group, and Sagamore was there, and I got to find out a little bit about them at that point. And nice guys. They're probably the biggest distillery in Maryland. A reasonable size outfit. I mean, they're not tiny. And they have a huge selection of products. So if you go onto the website there, they're a rye distillery. So there's sherry finish 8-year-old, there's tequila finish rye, rum cab finish rye, Manhattan finish rye, not 100% sure what that is, ale cast finish rye, rye ale finish, Calvados, blah, blah, blah. So they've got loads of stuff. And this is the bit that I found really interesting. The Italian company, Sorano Holdings, they like the place so much that they're actually ditching their New Jersey headquarters and moving down here. They've decided we like it. It's down on the waterfront, down south of Baltimore. We're going to up sticks and move down there. So the Busker Irish whiskey, there's a Busker range of Irish
whiskies. Is that a tax
whiskeys.
move, Marty, or why are they doing that?
I don't know. I think they maybe just thought, well, we quite like it down here. But I'm sure there's commercial reasons as well. But they decided to move down there. So Busker Irish whiskey, Tia Maria Di Sorano, and Sagamore Maryland rye. is all coming under the one company. So it's probably a good thing. I would imagine you'd have to say it's a pretty good thing for Busker to be in that portfolio.
Had you heard of that Sagamore outfit before you got to America? Because in the 3
No.
years we've been doing this, I've never heard of that before at all.
No, I didn't. But then, whenever I was there, again, it's one of those things you get your eyes opened a little bit whenever you realise there's lots of these guys popping up in the States, loads of them. And I mean, they're causing so much of an interest that some of the big players are starting to come over and purchase these guys. So, yeah, good for them. I hope all goes well. A nice partnership. Because it's not too far away from our friends over in Tobacco Barn.
Right. Okay.
But yeah. Now, next up, I read an article this week, which I kind of thought, I suppose I'd never really thought about it, if I'm honest, and maybe highlighting my ignorance of the whole thing. In all regards, it's an article by a girl called Susanna Barton, and it's I'm a professional whiskey taster and I'm pregnant, and I'm worried about how motherhood will affect my career. It's if you
That's a weird one, Marty, isn't it?
yeah, well, if you think about it, pregnancy obviously affects lots and lots of careers and lots of things that happen, but there's not too many careers that you're in that you're actually probably endangering the kid by carrying on with your career. And she says that most of the time she doesn't actually drink an awful lot of whiskey. She appreciates it and then spits it out like they do in wine. But even the perception of it is probably something that would get you, the marriage of being pregnant and being a whiskey taster, connoisseur, all that kind of stuff. Even just the association between the two, you're going to be sort of stigmatized in some ways,
And surely you're getting a wee drop of alcohol into you every time you do it.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but there's just something that maybe I was actually quite happy I read the article because it made me go, hang on, think about something that I'd never give a second thought to,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's not too many careers that when a woman gets pregnant that if you carry on, you're going to get stigmatized.
But most people are bound to have a deputy or something like that, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, what do? You just sit back and put your feet up and let your deputy carry on. I mean, that's not really what your the career. So yeah, I thought it was a bit. It was an interesting article. It's well worth reading. I mean, she goes through and explains how she carried on working and so on. But yeah, it's one of those things that I'd never given any thought to.
Mm-hmm.
But once you read the article, it sort of gives you a little bit of food for thought.
Yep. Okay, we're halfway through the show tonight already. Believe it or not,
we'll run through the second part quickly. Last but not least, over at I saw Frank. Frank was telling us that he had a great few days in Donegal last week and really enjoyed his visit to the Crawley Distillery.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful old cognac, still some very whiskey, and looking forward to their own spirit. Sean was excellent. I can only assume Sean was his tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Crawley Distillery over on Twitter. They're giving a bit of a giveaway. So if you want to go on there and to enter, follow us and share this post, the winner will be chosen tomorrow. So there, thought that was quite good.
Have we passed that date yet? Oh, we might have.
Hang on. Yes, we've passed the date. Sorry about that. I only saw it earlier on. Oops.
Okay. That's all right. No, may close at midnight tonight. You just have a click and look and check there.
That's Twitter's tweet. What we got to call it now? It's just X Zorro, whatever it's called. But no, algorithms up the bloody left. Yeah, I just noticed that there. As I said tomorrow. Yeah. But nice that they're given away, and I thought it was nice that Frank brought up. He was down there. Good on him. We have to get a rundown ourselves, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
One of these days. I'm almost finished this. So no, I tell you, I'm going to have. I got a couple of samples of a very, 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 very exotic whiskey that was given to me. I can't divulge just what this liquid is. It's very, very, very special. It's a whole new brand that's going to be coming out, and it's an Irish whiskey, and it's aged to perfection. If you read, it's absolutely aged to perfection. Is what it says.
Looks like it's in a milk of magnesia blue bottle there.
But these are just the sample bottles.
Yeah, bring this up solo in case we can read something on it.
No, you'll not be able to read anything on it. I'll let it sit for a wee tiny bit. Yes. Jim's trying to force this down my throat. That's a 3-year-old 40% one, and I can tell you now it's not aged to perfection. I'll just put that shite to bed right away.
Okay.
It's aged to legal requirements, is what that's aged to. Yeah, it's very sort of sweety. It's not very good. And then this is a 5-year-old. What did we say it was? 43%. That's even worse. Yeah, that's not great. Yeah, we'll just. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
Say no more. Say no more.
I will say no more is right. No, that's not great. It's certainly not aged to perfection. Let's just put it like that.
It says you just look like you licked fresh piss off a nettle.
Aye, it's there'll be people that like that because it's a bit like why that Officer's Choice stuff sells so well. It's because it doesn't really taste of anything. There's no real taste of it. It's relatively inoffensive. It's just kind of sweet. In fact, the 3-year-old almost tastes like there's been an additive or something put in it. I know there hasn't been. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. But it's just generic sort of rubbish. It's on a par with Proper 12. Let's just put it like that. It's not good. It's not good. But when whiskey doesn't burn, yes, it's very smooth, But I can't even sing that in case Zuckerberg comes and nails us for it. You know, but it's going Barry White. We'll have a drop of this because I haven't got
Barry White rhymes with.
Yes, it's very Barry White. So it is, yeah.
You have to take some of the Middleton to counteract the taste. Is that bad?
Well, this bottle's I got bought this bottle by someone quite special, and I'm just going to have a wee sniff of that. But yeah, yeah, I can't tell you too much about it, but that's not great whiskey. Anyway, moving on. Aye. Book. For people who still read actual books, this is a book called Finding Spirits, and it's written by this boy Dennis Polk. Basically, it starts off. You think it's just going to be about George Washington and the fact that Washington was, probably one of the biggest distillers in the whole of the US back in the day. In fact, he was one of the biggest distillers back in the US. And this is one of the things that I like about whiskey. It's all this little factual stuff in and out around history and what it does, especially in the States. Now, it used to be in the run-up to elections, and this was back in sort of 18th century England. What they did was they used to supply voters with booze to get them sort of half pissed before they went in and cast their ballot. And it carried over to the US, which lasted an awful lot longer in the US than it did in England. Now it's totally banned. It's really
okay. It's a bit like Decathlon when you go in to buy, you can scan the barcode and they give you a free bag. So they're inducing you to leave a positive review, aren't they?
Well, that's kind of it. I mean, Washington's very first campaign was in 1755 to the House of Burgess, right? And it failed because he didn't supply booze. Now, he lost by 271 votes. But 3 years later, he stood again and he brought in the drinky poos at that point and he won by 331 votes. So it's kind of used, according to this book, it said that the candidates used it to bribe and to bribe people, and also to show that the candidates were very generous and that they were in touch with the common man. Now, it wasn't just whiskey; there was other spirits and wines and so on and so forth put out. But I thought what I would do is I kind of done a bit of research this week where we went through the US presidents. I'll set that down there actually. Went through the US presidents to see what of them actually drank whiskey or even drank other stuff. I mean, whiskey's obviously what we're wanting to deal with, but I thought we'd go through and just see, and it's quite funny because there's quite a lot of them pop in and out. So
Okay.
Washington had his own distillery. Now, Washington, by the way, is the only 6-star general in US history. He was made a 6-star general about 20 years ago because, well, just decided, we have to have him above everybody else. And Eisenhower was made a 5-star general, so they thought Washington has to be made a 6-star general. Yeah. Anyway, at his distillery, right, I'll read through this. In 1797, Washington's farm manager, John Anderson, had been born near Edinburgh, and he convinced his boss that distilling his corn and rye would be a good idea. So he built a 2,250 square foot distillery, and by 1799 was producing 11,000 gallons a year, which is quite a lot back then, which was making him $7,500 a year, which is about $250,000. Now, interesting, I've done a bit of research on this, Justin. Anderson had learned about distilling because he used to supply the Haigs and the Steins at a place called Kennet Pans.
Wow.
So we were there a few months ago, and that's where he learned about distilling and industrial distilling. Yeah. And he emigrated to America.
These boys got about, they're only lived to about 55, 60 if they were lucky, but they didn't half get about.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting that there's that connection between George Washington and Kennet Pans just outside Alloa,
Yeah.
And then also the connection between Kennet Pans and Jameson and whatnot. I thought that's just interesting that aside. Now, the distillery burnt down in 1814, but Washington had died back in 1799. But back in year 2000, they got a grant from the Distilled Spirits Council, and they rebuilt the distillery on site there. And these days they're producing rye whiskey again. So there was somebody brought over Willie in the Friend of Hand a bottle of Washington Mount Vernon estate whiskey. So I think I maybe sent you a couple of pictures earlier on of it.
You did? Is that it? Yeah.
All right, well that's one of them there. But there's a bottle of it up in the Friend of Hand. It's one of those. It's one of those sort of interesting ones. It's not actually Irish, but it's not really for sale. It's just for the collection. So now we're going to run through all of the presidents here, and we're going to do it fairly quick because we can't do a huge amount. But we talk about each of them for a little bit. So the second president was John Adams, and he didn't really drink whiskey, but he did drink cider for breakfast. Then he drank Madeira before bed, and he drank beer and ale during the day. He had a bit of rum, apparently, and at one point he tried to use diplomatic immunity to bring in a pint of French Bordeaux without paying any tax on it. So it's nice to see corruption's alive and well back in the 18th century. Who ever would have thought that the politicians would try to skip out a bit to actually make everybody else pay? Gets. But yeah, he tried to get diplomatic Hamilton to get whiskey brought in for him. Or sorry, Bordeaux brought in for him. So that's John Adams. The third president, Thomas Jefferson, didn't drink hard spirits, but was hugely influential in American whiskey because he granted the land in Kentucky to the Scots-Irish immigrants and to some German ones as well. So there is a Jefferson's bourbon. But it's not really to do with the president, but he did have plans to build a distillery, something similar to Washington. They never actually got right to it. He passed away before it was there, but they have a whiskey distillery out now, Jefferson's Whiskey. Next up, James Madison. Now, James Madison, now we're talking. This guy reputedly drank a pint of whiskey a day. So that's about half a bottle a day. Now, he was only 5'4" and weighed 100 pound weight. So he was only a wee tiny guy.
That's a lovely looking ornament, actually, isn't it?
I think there's a whole series of these whiskey decanters done like the president. Madison in 1777 was defeated in his bid for election to the House of Delegates because, according to one biographer, he refused to give voters free whiskey. It was Madison who brought in a duty on alcoholic beverages, another whiskey tax back in 1789, and apparently did so to stop people drinking to excess and help repair the disastrous finances that was left about. but this is a guy, he was wanting to stop people drinking to excess. He was drinking half a pint a day, half a pint of whiskey a day. So yeah, methinks he wasn't.
Do as I say, don't do as I do, Marty. Do as I say.
It's about most of the rest of them these days. James Monroe, next up. He'd no whiskey, but when he died, he had 1,000 bottles of champagne and wine. But that didn't stop Old Crow from using his image as a sort of advertising product, because it says here James Monroe likes to drink Old Crow, mainly because it bloody rhymes. I would imagine that's why that slipped in. But yeah, that was. So
if you did that now, the White House would be subpoenaing you, wouldn't it?
Yes, the CIA would be getting a phone call. A certain branch of the CIA would be coming to knock your door, FBI or whoever it would be. Next up, John Quincy Adams. Now, he was the son of the second president, and he was not known to have drunk whiskey, but he did like a cider. And this advert shows that he did. He liked some stuff. Skip on to the next one,
which is
Old Hickory.
Old Hickory.
Old Hickory. This is your favourite president of all time, Andrew Jackson. He was a big whiskey drinker.
He's from down the road here.
And a maker. Now, he had a distillery at the Hermitage, which was his home. It said apparently he wasn't a huge drinker, particularly, but he did drink quite a lot with his dinner. Old Hickory was his nickname, and at his inauguration, he kept giving lots of people free booze, and at his inauguration, people were getting that pissed. They kept hugging him to the point he was getting bruises. they were running about, and according to reports, they were damaging carpets and china. So basically, they were puking up all over the White House, smashing into stuff. Now, as a tribute, Sean McLennan's Justin whiskey decanter hit flask was taken to the Andrew Jackson cottage. So they were sits proudly. So there's the connection, Justin, between you and Old Hickory himself.
All right. Yes. I know.
Aye. Now, next up, William Henry Harrison.
I think that's him, isn't it?
I think so, yes. William Henry Harrison liked the whiskey, and he came from Indiana. And now you can get a Harrison whiskey. Now there's an order form there, which he signed to purchase whiskey. Hopefully it's the next picture. No, you've jumped on. Now we're lost in order. Now we're in the same one. Now we're in a different one. That's the order there. Yeah. That's the order. That's him actually ordering whiskey, and it's one of these things that's signed by him. And I think it wasn't for him. It was probably for a party. But it says that he wants to get whiskey to use, probably maybe to bribe voters. Who knows? Probably to bribe voters. Next up, John Tyler. champagne drinker. Then we have James Polk. Now, there is records of him serving whiskey in the White House, but apparently he didn't drink much of it himself. Uh, his his wife's nickname was Sahara Sarah because she didn't actually drink a big lot. Justin's brought up another picture. Always late to the party. Bring that one up.
That one?
Yep. No, the one you were on. No, see the picture that's I see the picture that's already on screen. Now you're skipping away forward again.
Yeah. That one?
No, that's the one.
All
Zachary Taylor is the next one up. And when he was told that he was nominated to stand for president, he was actually fighting in the American-Mexican War. And whenever the guy told him, "Look, you've been nominated for president," he reputedly said, "Stop your nonsense and drink your whiskey." So that's what you get. Now that's the quote. Even though he doesn't actually drink a huge amount, his great nephew was E.H. Taylor, the bourbon.
Kit Charge has noted that they're all Presbyterians.
Well, some of them are Presbyterians, Ken. They're not all Presbyterians. You can't be labelling Presbyterians as drinkers. They'll be out. That's the devil's buttermilk.
I mean, that sounds like get off your horse and drink your milk. Stop your nonsense and drink your whiskey.
Stop your nonsense and drink whiskey. So that's basically a quote that you find out if you look them up, look through some stuff. You find that. Stop your nonsense and drink your whiskey. Next up, Millard Fillmore didn't drink very much, but once said he had drank enough old Madeira to get slightly fuddled. Now, are you lost here, Justin?
I am lost. Is that him?
No, you're skipping away one.
What do we say?
Right, pull that one up. No, you
pull that one up.
No,
that one.
Right. That's the one. That's the next boy. Franklin Pierce.
Right.
He's labelled as being America's drunkest president. He was. This is back in the days when people were, you were seen as being very brave for having fought in battles. So people mocked him for being the hero of many a well-fought battle. Apparently, he had a bit of a tragic life. One of his sons was decapitated in a train accident, and he watched it, and his wife used to write letters to her dead babies and stuff.
Why do these politicians have this fixation with going near trains that they know nothing about and getting decapitated? Wasn't an MP killed at the first train ever in England?
Something like that, yeah. But he died of cirrhosis of the liver at 65. So it doesn't specify that he was a whiskey drinker.
Maybe he had to drown in his sorrows after that. It sounds pretty horrific.
I'm going to say he probably, it doesn't say specifically that he was a whiskey drinker. I think he covered all bases. I don't think there was much of an issue. Right, next up, James Buchanan.
This is him.
That's James Buchanan, yes.
Yep.
Buchanan loved sherry, and it was said that he consumed enough to fill many cellars. And he used to, I like this story. He used to pretend to go to church on a Sunday, but actually he was going to Jacob Beer's distillery so he could buy stuff, and reportedly never suffered from hangovers. Now, surprisingly enough, his family comes from this part of the world, up in the north of Ireland. So yeah, he's an Ulster man and doesn't suffer from hangovers. But yeah, apparently he used to pretend he was going to church and end up at a distillery. Yeah, fair play to him. Andrew Johnson's up next. Andrew Johnson he showed up drunk at Lincoln's inauguration. So he had the cold. So what he did was he took 3 or 4 whiskies, and so he ended up, he was pissed as a fart at the inauguration, which I quite liked. So one point he was offered wine at a do, and he refused it and says, "We're not getting stronger." So yeah, he was a whiskey dude. He liked these whiskies too. So next up, Ulysses S. Grant. No,
that's
not Grant. No,
hold on, we'll check.
no, you're on the wrong Ray.
Is this it?
I pull that up. That's Grant.
Yep.
Grant, Grant. Apparently, he was a bit of a lightweight, but he liked to drink. Apparently, at one point, he was during the Civil War. He was seen drinking whiskey out of his canteen. You know the way in the westerns they all have canteens with water in it. Apparently,
Yep.
he had one with whiskey, and he was doing an inspection at one point. And he was so drunk he puked down his horse's mane. But apparently, he was a bit of a lightweight. He used to pass out quite quickly. But when he was in the White House, it didn't stop him ordering $1,800 worth of champagne. But he was a whiskey dude.
That's some amount of champagne then.
He
reminds me of the captain in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly when they blow up the bridge. He looks like him a bit.
Apparently, he was a guy like he was a bit of a tough guy. Now, one of the things that during his presidency, he oversaw the prosecution of the whiskey ring. This was a bunch of guys who had got together to basically bribe inspectors so they didn't have to pay tax on their whiskies. A huge scandal back in the day. I'll not get into too much detail about it, but when it was his last day of his presidency, he pardoned a couple of the guys that were involved with it. But it was a massive scandal. But he was the guy that oversaw sort of the prosecutions, if you like, during his presidency. So well worth checking out. Grant as a character, like he's well worth checking out his story as well. Next up, Rutherford B. Hayes.
That must be him.
No, that's Andrew. That's Johnson.
Is that him?
Yep, that's Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes didn't really drink a huge amount. His wife was totally teetotal. Her nickname was Lemonade Lucy. But what he used to do was, apparently he used to add whiskey and rum to punches that his wife had made up. Now, he didn't drink them, but he used to sit and watch as other people get pissed, allegedly so. So he used to sit and get people drunk, even though he didn't really drink himself, and his wife was staunchly teetotal. Now, after that, with James Garfield, he was a beer drinker.
Is this him?
No.
Is that it?
No.
They must be out of order then.
Yep, they're well out of order.
What do we say? James Garfield.
No, you're miles away. You're way into the 20th century. You're miles away.
I don't think I have a James Garfield then.
Well, probably isn't one. So we'll go on to Grover Cleveland.
Which is?
Sorry, Chester Alan Arthur. He was known as the Prince of Washington because he liked the party. Was a dab hand at making whiskey highballs. You're just going through the president. You're way on to Kennedy now. You're way up the other way. You need to come back.
I don't think there is one of them, or they haven't rendered for whatever reason.
Now, Grover Cleveland used to drink beer. During his first run for office, he cut back his drinking of beer.
There's nothing wrong with the mouse. Is the mouse working right?
He used to cut back on his drinking, so he decided to cut back on his beer drinking. So he limited himself to a gallon a day. So 8 pints a day. That was what he limited himself to. So he wasn't being, shall we say, all that frugal with it. He had a lot of distillery owners as friends. And he was the guy that signed into the Bottled and Bond Act, which was basically, it's an act that they didn't pay tax until it left the bond, which worked out all right for them. And he ended up getting the nickname the Bourbon Democrat, which was kind of seen as a bit of a pejorative because he was a laissez-faire capitalist. He just let the markets decide and do what they want. So Benjamin Harris didn't drink, but jurors sent him a cask. Then William McKinley. So do you see the cocktail was up there?
Yep.
Right, pull that up. He had a cocktail designed, McKinley's Delight, during his run. Now, you wouldn't drink a huge amount of these because This is the recipe. It's 3 ounces of rye whiskey at 50% ABV. It's 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of cherry brandy, and a dash of absinthe. Now,
I'm not sure absence works in cocktails. It's hard stuff.
but I'm going to say, how the fuck would you vote after you 2 or 3 of them? And you'd be voting for ET or something. I mean, it would be a strange one. Next picture, Justin. The next one's Teddy Roosevelt. That's him. Teddy Roosevelt at his 1912 presidential contest. A newspaper in Michigan decided that he was a notorious drunk. Now, Terry took them up in a libel case, and he said under oath, "I have never been drunk, never drank whiskey or brandy." The judge ruled in his favour, but I think the judge possibly thought he may have been telling some porkies, because he awarded him the grand total of 6 cents. So,
Right. Okay.
I think the judge probably thought, I'll not prosecute this guy because he's going to be president, but I think he possibly may be lying under oath. So we're going to give you 6 cents in damages. He once had a whiskey tasting. Bear in mind, this is a guy who said that he's never drank whiskey or brandy. And there was an argument about rectifiers saying that they could do stuff versus the distillers. So in order to find out if rectified whiskey tasted different than non-rectified whiskey, we'll cover that some other night. He spent 2 hours tasting them and wasn't drunk at the end of it. And he wasn't doing like your pregnant woman and spatting it out. No. So if you can drink whiskey straight for 2 hours and they're not pissed, I think you've had some practice.
There seems to be a common theme in American politics that they can alter reality.
Now, there's no picture of William Howard Taft. He didn't really drink, but he used to like other people getting drunk. Woodrow Wilson. There's a picture of him. Woodrow Wilson liked to drink. He loved scotch and soda. And apparently when he left office, he had a cask of the stuff removed from the White House. One assumes it was paid for by the taxpayer, and he took it out before he had to pay any tax on it. So this is Woodrow Wilson, and you see the quote there. Aye, see the quote. Pull it back up again. "I am one who fights without a knack of hoping confidently, simply a Scots-Irish man who will not be conquered," said Woodrow Wilson, because, again, his ancestry is from this part of the world. Now, Warren G. Harding. Now, he was elected during Prohibition, and he's one of my favourite presidents. He's about the most corrupt president there's ever been. And let's be honest,
that's saying something.
He's had some competition. Now, he was elected during Prohibition, but he used to, when he played golf, he used to take a bottle of whiskey with him during the round. Do you know how he got his whiskey, Justin? He used to have his Attorney General, Harry Doherty, that when they confiscated the whiskey from bootleggers or smugglers or whatever, they used to keep the best stuff and bring it around to the White House. Right? So he used to keep all the confiscated stuff. Right.
That's seriously low life, not nice.
He brought lots of, he was from Ohio, and he used to bring his friends down. His friends came down to Washington, and he used to just give them jobs. So they were totally inappropriate. They had no qualifications for these, but he'd give them jobs. And they basically ran the show. At one point, there was a railroad strike, and he turned up pissed as a fart at it during Prohibition. So he was absolutely pissed out of his head. They were up to everything. They were collecting bribes from the bootleggers.
How did they get away with it? The newspapers must have been all in it.
That was it. I don't know. But he used to hold poker tournaments where everybody used to get pissed at the White House. He was a prolific shagger. He was.
He doesn't look it.
Power corrupts, Justin. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And also you can get your leg over as well. But no, he was like one of the worst presidents. He was just pissed out of his head most of the time, even during Prohibition. So yeah, Warren Harding, we salute you, pal. You've taught the tree of very celebrity people. Next up, there's no picture of Calvin Coolidge, but he rarely drank. Herbert Hoover drank some wine. He had a great collection, but Herbert Hoover, he had a great wine collection. And then when Prohibition was passed, his wife flushed it all down the sink. He come home, she'd all fucking tipped out. I imagine there was all picture and no sound that night. I would say he wasn't happy about that. Herbert Hoover, he was a wine guy, like martinis. FDR, end of Prohibition, loved cocktails, used to make old fashions, but apparently used to keep changing the recipe. And his grandson Curtis said, "My grandfather made the worst cocktails I've ever tasted." So yeah.
Right. Okay. Right.
That was FDR. Harry Truman was a very patriotic bourbon man. Truman apparently had a very strict diet. So in 1952, he wrote, "I walk 2 miles every morning at 128 steps a minute. I eat no bread except a slice of toast, no butter, no sugar, no sweets. Usually have fruit, 1 egg, a strip of bacon, half a glass of skimmed milk." What he failed to mention was that he also had a large glass of wild turkey bourbon as well. It makes it sound all very healthy.
At breakfast?
At breakfast to get his engine going. Yeah, so it makes it sound very healthy. Oh, I only have one slice of bacon, 1 egg, no bread, no
Was
sweet.
a slice of bacon like this size of bacon, was it, or something like that?
Elvis portions.
Yeah.
So Harry Truman, so he used to drink wild turkey bourbon just at breakfast to get the old engine running. Next up, Eisenhower. Eisenhower loved his scotch apparently, and he picked this up when he was serving in Europe. When he was on a visit to India in 1959, there was a menu that said, "The president likes scotch, Chivas Regal, Dimple, or Black Dog." He didn't drink much, however. He had a heart condition, so he didn't drink much, but he liked drinking scotch. Next up, JFK. JFK apparently didn't drink that much. He was probably too busy shagging. He was probably out doing Warren Harding. If all accounts are to be believed, other shaggers are available, just to make it the thing. But he did like an old-fashioned cocktail. So you can get this. The next up is a bottle of. This is one that it says on the top. You can't really see it on this, but he did give this bottle to a friend of his, and this came up for auction a few years ago. A bottle of whiskey inscribed by JFK. I would imagine these days with people buying whiskey, that probably would be very collectible.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Lyndon Baines Johnson. He liked Cutty Sark, was his whiskey of choice. And apparently when he travelled, he used to bring cases of it with him. One thing he did was when in meetings, he dished out whiskey sodas. So he used to give people drinks, but he used to always make sure that his had very little alcohol in them. So other people's were mega strength. His had very little alcohol in them. So basically he was trying to get one up on his friends. But Cutty Sark was his whiskey of choice. Now,
haven't seen it about in a long time, to be honest. Have you?
Well, it's not one of the trendy ones, but probably sells an awful lot more than you think. President Nixon. So Nixon, a bit of off the wall. He used to get a bit worse for you wear of an evening. And when North Korea shot down a spy plane, apparently he was pissed out of his head and started to call, wanting to find out where he could target nuclear weapons on North Korea. And Henry Kissinger said to the military commanders, maybe just leave it to the morning before you give him these, just to sobered up. So he used to drink Chateau Lafite wine. And then he used to send, glasses out to everybody. And what he used to do was get the waiters to wrap the labels. So they didn't get Chateau Lafite. He did. They got all the cheap shit. But they thought they were drinking Chateau Lafite. But yeah. But yeah, he used to get, he liked the whiskey as well. But at one point he was that pissed he nearly started a nuclear war. Anyway, Gerald Ford was martini drinker. Jimmy Carter didn't really drink. Ronald Reagan. So there's Nixon drinking whiskey with what do you call him?
Khrushchev? No,
Khrushchev, that's the very one.
It's Khrushchev.
Now, Ronald Reagan wasn't really a whiskey drinker, but he was first cousin 4 times removed to a man called Johnny Blue, who was an illicit whiskey distiller on the Kintyre Peninsula, just across here. So it must have been in around Campbelltown direction, I assume. And as a result, in 1991, he was made one of the keepers of the Quick. You know, the Scottish whiskey.
Yes, yeah.
Honor. He was made one of those because of his ancestor. But he gave this speech, and I have to say, Reagan's maybe my favourite president. Very witty, very smart. Kind of agree with most of his politics, if I'm totally honest. But when he was given the speech and being awarded the Keeper of the Quick, he drank water. He didn't really drink whiskey. So, but he got awarded that.
Okay.
George Bush apparently drank Deers and water, and apparently he had this special move. No, that's the wrong Bush, Justin. That's his son.
Well, it is
George Bush. I don't think I have a picture of the old George Bush.
Nope, there isn't. No.
What he used to do was apparently he had a move where he could turn around and direct people and put his hand behind his back so the bartender knew to fill his glass so he could pull it round. It made it look as if he wasn't drinking that much. But surely people would have twigged on to this quite quickly, I would have thought. But yeah, he had this move where he could get his Deers filled behind his back while other people were looking away.
Apparently you made a mistake. That was Brezhnev.
Was it Brezhnev? Letter to Brezhnev. All them old Russian dudes all kind of look the same to me because Andropov and all, they'll drop dead after about 3 minutes.
Why can they not do that now?
Anyway, Bill Clinton, when he was in Belfast recently, he was given a bottle of Kirker and Greer, a special thing. That's the bottle him and Biden were all here, so they got one of these each. Apparently his favourite drink, I don't know whether this is right or not, was snake bite. You know, lager and cider. I mean, again, he was probably shagging that much. He needed just the liquid content, you know. But that he apparently doesn't drink a huge amount either. But snake bite is his preferred tipple, if you believe some various websites. George W. Bush. George W. apparently in college spent his time chasing pussy and drinking whiskey. Now, he was one of those cheerleader dudes. So I don't know how successful he would have been in one of those endeavours. But I suppose if you're a straight guy in one of those things, then you're probably going to do all right. But yeah, before he became president, he quit whiskey. He quit drinking totally. He's teetotal, has been for a very long time, and he said that he wouldn't be here if he hadn't quit drinking whiskey. Barack Obama, don't think he was much of a whiskey drinker, but he got a huge amount of like commemorative bottles for him being elected. There was loads of them. All whiskey guys brought out these limited edition Obama inauguration bottles. I assume because it was the first black president. I think that's probably what it was, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was a lot of commemorative bottles brought out for him. Donald Trump's teetotal. He's mad enough without the drink, although he is standing there with holding a bottle. And last but not least, President Biden, when he met the Pope, you pull it up, what he said was, "I'm the only Irishman you've ever met who's never drank whiskey." Yeah, you probably have. You might not just remember it, buddy. So that's a run through all of the Americano presidents and the whiskey that they drank. A lot of it is their preferred tipple. Some of them didn't drink. Some of them were involved.
Do you think your rest will go through whenever you go to read?
Oh, I've never. If I'm going to the States, do you think that I'm going to get confiscated?
Yeah.
Don't forget, Biden's president at the minute. He'll never be watching any of this, and if he does watch it, he'll be finished by the end of it.
That reflects surely Biden is knocking back straight formaldehyde.
Aye. No, he got one of those Kirker and Greer bottles as well.
Did he? Right.
Yeah, limited edition Kirkland and Greer GND sourced liquid. I assume, but yeah, so that's all of the presidents. It's easier to get access to what that because if you're doing like English prime ministers or Irish Taoiseachs or something, it's a bit harder to find out what some of them are.
That's right. When what was it, Brian Cowan, when the cement mixer ran into the gates, somebody said it was the mixer for Brian Cowan. Right? That was a classic.
My favourite was Boris Yeltsin. Do you remember Boris Yeltsin came to Dublin to meet the Taoiseach? But he was that pissed he couldn't get off the plane.
That's funny.
One country he would have got away with it is if he came here and blocked out his head. He was that drunk he couldn't get off the plane. But no, as I say, the Irish whiskey in America, in terms of being all tied up in politics and stuff, it is quite interesting because there's all little bits either to do with the taxation, the making of it, passing of laws to do with it.
Love-hate relationship. Love-hate relationship.
Well, kind of, yeah.
You know.
So
I mean, it even backfired in Boris. You know, Churchill was powered by whiskey, but you know, Boris had a wee drink in the garden during lockdown in his own house, and they did him over for it. But there you go, because he lied about it. You know.
Can he tell lies in politics? Can't tell lies in public office, Justin.
That's all they do. That's all they do.
Yeah, I laughed. Someone come in. Someone said to me today that they were going up to do some work up around Stormont. I nearly creased laughing. At least somebody's doing something.
Yes, that was Boris Yeltsin, drunk on the steps of the plane. That was him.
Sure, Boris did like a vodka. Boris liked the vodka. Yeah.
So you're on the road next week, then?
On the road again? Hang on. Sorry, Zuckerberg. Yeah, I'm on the road again. Where will I be next? I'll be in Edinburgh next.
So we'll be doing something Scottish, Edinburgh-esque next week, maybe.
Possibly. Or we might have a guest on. Yeah, never know, Justin.
You never know. Same time, same place next week, 10 p.m. live, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, Telegram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, give it a shout as well. Thanks for watching tonight. Very interesting show. Very informative. You learn things about American presidents on this show that you don't get discussed in public anymore.
No, I'm going to go and see if I can clean the sink. I shall return.
That bad?
It's pretty shit. Yeah, it's
that bad.
Well, put it like this: I might have another couple of drinks and then just knock them back just to finish off. But aye.
All right. Night,
guys. Take care. See you later.